Hi everyone, welcome to my Personal Finances PodCat, episode 35. Today we have such great honor to have Datin, Paduka, Marina, Mahathir to be our show today. She has achieved great deal of things in life, but today we're going to focus more on our latest venture, which is Zafigo.com. And let's welcome Marina to the show. Hi
Thank you.
Marina,
Hi,
welcome
thanks
to
for
the
having me.
show. Thanks for coming to the show. Really, it's a great honor. Yeah. I'm pretty sure you usually don't need much introduction for yourself, but for this time, for some benefit of some audience, like maybe you can briefly introduce yourself and also Zafigo.
I find it hard to introduce myself too because I do so many things, but
Exactly.
I think of myself mostly as a writer because that's how I started. And I guess a communicator because then I do a lot of things in which I have to communicate to people. I'm sure you all know about my activist work, working with HIV and things like that from my
Mm-hmm.
past. But right now, I'm focused a lot on Zafigo.com, which is a travel website for women.
Mm-hmm.
Why I started that is because I found that there was a lack of information that was specifically geared towards women, especially for traveling around Asia. Because I do think that travel can be quite gendered. There are things that we as women need to watch out for when we travel, much more than men. So to fill that need, that's how I started Zafigo, and now it's been 6 years, and
Wow.
uh, we find great response to it, and there's a real increase in the number of women who are traveling. So there's a greater need for this sort of information.
Mm. So, in your opinion, like, why is travel so important?
Well, I think it's from a personal point of view. I've always viewed, and from my parents' time, they've always viewed travel as being educational, to broaden your horizons, to understand that there are lots of different kinds of people around the world and they live quite differently from you. And you need to understand that the world is diverse like that. So, and I think that holds true for everyone. To see a bit more of the world than just what's in your
Okay.
own environment helps you to understand better how the world works, and that you're not the only people in the world. So yeah, I think that's why it's important, and that's why people have traveled from yongs ago, just to see what's out there, and to learn something basically.
Yep. And there's so much we can read from the book, but it's only the best if you can actually experience those in your, like personally, right?
Well, and they say, fact can be stranger than fiction. So you can only write so much in a book, and it'll be from one person's point of view. But when you travel, you'll have an experience that is particular to you, right? It can never be totally cookie cutter experience for
Exactly.
everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And like, what do you think like Zafigo roles is in travel?
Well, like I said, I started it because I felt that there was a real lack of information for women
Mm-hmm.
to travel safely and successfully. I mean, it was really a lot of it is about culture because, as particularly around Asia with our different cultures, this can be a real minefield for women. Many years ago, I was going to Pakistan for work, and I had no idea how I'm supposed to dress, and I couldn't find the information, and I thought that was a serious gap.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really how I started, and then you realize that for us, for a lot of women in different countries, you have to know how to keep yourself safe. You have to know how to dress. You have to know the local customs. Some places you can't shake hands with men, for instance, and whereas men, a lot of the time they can just wear a shirt and pants and they're fine. But for us, there are a lot more nuances in how we are perceived, and we have to be careful of that. And anyway, what we've discovered, how they say, if you build a field and people will come, it's true. Because what we found that once I started Zafigo is that we discovered a lot of women who are traveling and traveling on their own. And secondly, they love to talk about it. So we've had lots and lots of people writing to us to talk about the travel experiences. And so it's a burgeoning market, which
Mm-hmm.
I think the travel industry is only just now getting a fix on. For the longest time, the advertising for travel, travel everything has been very cookie cutter, very geared towards a very general, stereotypical traveler, but not particularly geared for women. So uh, now we're finding that women like to travel alone or with girlfriends, and they want to do and see different things from the usual family travel or package travel, whatever.
Hmm. And I think on the other side, it also works as an encouragement for those like women who actually want to travel, but they have like too much concerns, where it's safe to travel to, what do they,
Yeah.
prepare before the trip and all these things. That's where
Yes,
Zafigo came
exactly. I
from,
mean,
right? Sorry.
absolutely. I mean, knowledge is power.
Mm-hmm.
So we try and provide as much information as we can on safety and how to be prepared for everything. And we also we have our annual event Zafigo X, where we get women travelers to come and talk about their experiences, and they're really really inspiring, because our brief to them always is talk about your experience, but particularly talk about what you learned from that experience. And that's really been encouraging to a lot of women, like, okay, if she can do it, she can handle it, so can I. And that's really what we hope for.
Yeah, that sounds exactly like an event that I really want to go to. But when is the next? But with this whole pandemic coming, I'm pretty sure the schedule is affected, right? Or are you
Yeah, we,
changing?
we were supposed to have Zafico X 2020, of course, but because of the pandemic, we've put it off till next year. But meanwhile, we substituted it with this online forums called Hello Zafigo,
Mm-hmm.
where we've had six of them already. We started, I guess, sometime in April, late April maybe, when the MCO was on, and we talk about we get people in, and I interview them, or really have a conversation with them, and we've talked about um, what it's like, travel in the time of COVID. We've talked about how you can still stay home but still earn money, yeah, online through online business and all that. We've talked about mental health and well-being, and we've had industry people like Tony Fernandez and Lavinia Rajaram from Expedia come in and talk about the future of travel.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had Yuna, the singer, and Nicole David talk about, they're so used to going on tour and things like that, how the pandemic has stopped them, but they're doing other things. And our last one was last week. We talk about solo travel.
Mm-hmm.
Two very courageous young women who have traveled on their own many places and have had all sorts of adventures, but come out of it because they learned so much. Um, yeah, so yeah, it's been very interesting like that.
And I believe there's also an episode which is about money, right? Which is not too common like in your other podcast sessions.
Yeah, we did the one about how to earn while
Mm-hmm.
you're traveling or while you're stuck at home. That was quite an early one, and that was quite popular. People found that. I think, yeah, that's the main one we've done. I'm trying to think. I'm sure I've forgotten something, but yeah, we've had that one, which was very practical, lots of practical advice, and even I learned a lot of things from that.
Yep. Right. I'm pretty sure this question has been brought up a lot in your other podcast, which is what's your advice on where to travel in 2020, especially in the face of travel restriction?
Oh my gosh. I
Common
think
question.
we have to underscore the word travel restrictions. We have to look at what are the restrictions out there. For Malaysia, at least right now, we are restricted to domestic travel, which is not
Mhm.
a bad thing. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
I think some of us haven't discovered everything in our own country.
Exactly.
And I've seen, ever since they said that we could travel domestically, there's been a lot of pent up travel being exercised, because I've seen friends go to the East Coast, go to Langkawi, go everywhere, just to drive to Malacca, or just to drive somewhere and just get out of town. It's that wanting to burst out after being
Yeah.
confined at home for so long. So I haven't managed to do that yet, because once this MCO is kind of lifted, life has more or less turned to normal, which means I have a lot of work. But I did manage a staycation last week just across town. And that was nice, just to have something different, sleep in
Yeah.
a different bed, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think travel 2020 will be mostly domestic,
Mm-hmm.
and at most, if we are allowed to leave the country for a holiday, I think people will try and do just very short haul flights. I think mostly a lot of us, I think, don't want to be on a plane for too long. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because the idea of being confined in a tube with a lot of people is not very appealing. So
Yeah.
yeah, either we're going to drive domestically
Mm-hmm.
or get on a plane for the shortest possible time.
Hmm. Or I think people might also consider to drive all the way to like our neighbor countries, like Singapore and Thailand, for a long and nice road trip, which sounds nice too, right?
Yeah, which is not a bad idea.
Mm-hmm.
If we allow, I think Singapore, they're going to lift restrictions. I'm not sure about Thailand yet, but
Not at the
yeah,
moment, I'm pretty sure. Yep.
yeah,
I think like at the minute when like we have this started this RMCO, all I see on my Facebook and Instagram is all the travel pictures of like, yeah,
yeah,
I see a lot of hidden gems in Malaysia which I've never known about.
exactly.
And yeah, and as similar to you, I don't have the schedule to travel at the moment yet. But what I've been doing is actually to keep track of these places that people post about, so I can
Yeah.
make a list, like a short bucket list to go to and explore all these places.
Exactly. And anyway, I think it's a good idea to help our local tourism industry too, to help them recover. So why not?
Exactly. So,
Yeah.
would you like share? Is there did you come across or your favorite travel story for this year, despite this whole travel restrictions? Yeah, we're still gonna use the word restrictions.
Yeah. Oh, for this year I only managed in early February. I have two best girlfriends, and we try and go somewhere every year as a kind of a retreat where we just spend time with each other, and we just catch up on everything because we're all busy, right? So we had planned this trip to Cochin in India since last year,
Mm-hmm.
and it was planned for early February. And actually, early February, we already started hearing about this pandemic. It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't quite called a pandemic yet, it was still confined to China.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and we were pondering, should we go, should we not go, whatever. So we decided to go. It was only for 5 days, and the flight isn't that long. And we, wore masks. We took our sanitizers, and the airline, and we landed in Cochin just when they found the first case in India, which was
Oh
in
wow!
Kerala. But
Wow.
but it was just one case, and actually we went to the right place because Kerala has managed the pandemic really well. So we had a good time, and I'm glad we did it, because right now I don't know where I'm going to go next, right? Or when. So I think the one thing that I kind of learned from this whole pandemic and everything is that you really shouldn't put off plans, if you can,
Mm-hmm.
because you don't know when you're going to get the opportunity again. So I'm glad we went. I'm glad we had that time. It was just 5 days. It was a good time. And then after that, everything shut down. And yeah. So for this year, yes, that was the most memorable thing, my one and only trip.
Yeah, as for myself, my one and only trip this year was the our company trip, which is to Bangkok, which happened in January. And everything, I have to thank my company for having that trip, or else I can say that I have not been like out of country for the whole year, which is rare to me, even for
Exactly.
myself. Like I plan trips every year. And some of my trips are planned like
Exactly.
2, 3 years ahead, or like if local trip is months ahead. And this year I cancelled so many trips of mine, like not just
Exactly.
yeah,
That was
yeah.
the saddest thing I had to do. In fact, if there wasn't a pandemic, I wouldn't even be here right now, because I did my master's last year, and yesterday was supposed to be my graduation. So
Oh wow.
I would have been in the UK right now for my graduation yesterday and my daughter's graduation this Friday. So when I had to cancel that trip to go to the UK, and then after that, a holiday to see friends in France and Switzerland, it was the saddest thing. It really was sad
Mm.
having to cancel all our tickets, all our accommodation, and everything. It was but what to do, right? What to do?
Did the graduation happen at all? Like, did they make it like a
No,
virtual online one? No, they just canceled it.
no, they can, but they no, they've postponed. What they've told us is, well, they've told me is that they postponed it to next year.
Mm.
Which means it'll be a gigantic one because it'll be bump up against next year's graduates as well. But no, I think a virtual one is not quite it. It's not
Yeah,
quite the
yeah.
same.
But at
Yeah.
least it's still gonna happen next year, right?
Yeah, so they say. So, hopefully by that time it'll be safe and clear.
Mm-hmm. Look at the bright side; it can be even a bigger event. A more joyful one. That that's when people
Yeah,
actually come off this pandemic and all celebrating that we all survived
yeah,
this together.
yeah. That will be great, if it does.
Yeah, I believe this happens to everyone. Like everyone
Yeah,
have their
yeah. I'm
plans
not.
cancelled.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Everyone has had, and what to do. What to do.
Yeah, we just have to look at the bright side. Like as you mentioned, like it shouldn't be cancelled. Like we shouldn't, call things off just like that. We should just look into the schedule again. Like it can happen again. Like give us more time to plan
Yeah,
for even better
I
trips, right?
think. Yeah, I think what helps a lot for all these cancellations is when airlines are good with refunds or giving credits, so that you can rebook.
Mm.
They should do everything, I think, to keep us flying on their airlines. So the more generous that they are with refunds and credit vouchers or whatever. Same with hotels. That's the way we'll come back to them, right? So I'm happy to see that quite a lot of airlines have been quite cooperative like that. But I don't know what happens with the airlines that have just completely gone bankrupt. But hopefully not too many of that, because people will want to travel again, will need to travel again. But our choices, how we make our choices is going to be the important thing. It's going to be based on price. It's going to be based on schedules, and flexibility, particularly of the airlines and hotels, in case we had to cancel or postpone or something. I think
Mm-hmm.
everything is about uncertainties nowadays.
Yeah, exactly. And now that we talk about planning trips, like in your opinion, how can we actually make travel plans that it's financially savvy, especially for times like this?
Well, go for the most flexible option. I think is the best thing. And I think a lot of airlines and hotels are understanding of that,
Mm-hmm.
and will try and accommodate as much as possible. I think people will be more savvy about shopping around, not just for price, but for that sort of flexible booking arrangements. I think that's the main thing. Um, and of course, I think most people will be looking at the safety issue. The airlines or hotels or whatever who that really prioritizes cleanliness, safety
Mm-hmm.
and that sort of thing. Those are the ones that are going to get their customers back. I'm pretty sure of that. And I think we won't even mind paying a little bit more if the safety if we are assured of the safety. So yeah, that I think that's the way people are going to choose their travel plans in this coming years, and I think it will last a few years. Really, I think we had Tan Sri Tony Fernandez from AirAsia with us a couple of weeks back, a couple months back on Hello Zafigo, and he said that he doesn't think that the travel industry will go back to what it was. When we were really quite free and easy, and we'll
Yeah.
just book a flight and go off for the weekend, or just here and there and just go.
Mm-hmm.
I think people will be a lot more cautious. People will be a lot more careful with how they spend their travel money because, yeah, I mean, there's less money around
Mm-hmm.
too, and we have to pick and choose what we're going to spend it on, and holidays aren't necessarily at the very top of a lot of people's priorities. So yeah, so it will be a different world. It will be a different world. I mean, that's a given.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think people will completely stop traveling because we're just not like that, but we will think harder. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that is very true. Like even though like we all sometimes it's all focused on like having a financially savvy travel plan, but more importantly for now, right now is actually the safety. So I think like most of us would
Yeah.
actually look out for even restaurants owners or like homestay owners
Yeah.
that are actually taking extra precautions when it comes to their customers' safeties. Right? Right? Uh,
Exactly. And anyone who wants us back as customers will have to, take heed of all these precautions, because otherwise we have a choice, right? So we will choose the one that makes us feel most safe.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
That's very important. Yep. And mm, and in your opinion, is there any initiatives that you think can be taken by any parties to boost travel?
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, even right now, there are lots of packages, very reasonable packages from different hotels, resorts, airlines, just to get people, going, because that's I mean, the worst thing for the travel industry is people just refusing to leave home. So how do you entice people to go? So there, staycation packages, there are family packages, there are all sorts of things. They throw in everything,
Mm-hmm.
and that's great. That is really what will get people to travel. um, Airlines too, I hope are giving good deals. I think it's a matter of you know getting people out there and moving first through whatever you can throw in. I don't know, some extra free days or whatever. I don't know, and just so that people get out there. Because once they get out there, they're not just spending on the hotel. They'll spend on food. They might spend on souvenirs, and every little person in the travel industry depends on this. Like in a place like Langkawi, for instance, once the COVID pandemic happened, it's not just the hotels, it's not just the airlines, it's the taxi driver that has nobody to pick up at the airport, the
Mm-hmm.
stall owner that has nobody to come and have nasi lemak there. It is just trickles down all the way down. So yeah, we need to stimulate that travel with whatever we can.
Yeah, I think like for times like this, a lot of business no owners they just have to step out of their comfort zone and do something extra and something totally new for them in order to
Yeah,
survive actually. And not just
yeah,
that, I think I mean all of them should have like customer safety on top of their mind, even though
absolutely.
they yeah.
Absolutely. I think, if that's the main thing, that the customer has to trust,
Mm-hmm.
that their safety is at the forefront of the airline or the hotel or the resort, whatever. Otherwise, we just won't go.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And there's also one thing interesting that I come across, like in some of the articles. It does mention that, you are the one that should be asked to design jet planes to be more comfortable, user friendly, and budget friendly. And why do you
Well,
think?
I mean, not the engineering part, I'm sure.
Okay, definitely. And
But
what?
yeah, as far as passenger comfort, I think that's a long time coming, even if we didn't have a pandemic, because nowadays, planes, they just pack people in,
Mm-hmm,
and because the more people in there, the more money they make, right?
mm-hmm,
But I think now they have to rethink a bit in terms of safety, in terms of comfort, and I mean, I think ticket prices going up is going to be almost inevitable.
mm-hmm. Yep,
Um,
yep, yep.
so for customers, I think we will look at what will we get for that price.
Mm-hmm,
If you are asking us to pay more, what will we get for that? And I think customers, even if they are economy or business or even first class, they'll be looking at that. It has to be value for money, and not just you pay more but you get less.
mm-hmm,
So that doesn't work really, at least not in the long term.
mm-hmm,
So yeah, I think, yeah, again, the idea of getting into a tube with lots of people is a big question, for a lot of us.
mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
like for someone like you who has been traveling on a plane for like uncountable times, what are the features that you will actually like to, if there can be any features to be removed from the plane and or any features to be, to be included in the plane? Are they such things?
Well, I don't know about being removed. I mean, there's talk about removing the middle seat, so that
Mm-hmm.
if there are three seats, they remove the middle one so that you're not next to another person. You're just slightly more distant.
Mm-hmm.
Um, well, I don't know if that would reduce the capacity of the plane, and that might mean the tickets will get more expensive, because they have to make up for however many. A big plane might have 300 passengers. You take out the middle seat, and you're taking out one third.
Mm-hmm.
That how do they make up for 100 over seats? That's a big question. Um, for me, I think if they have all the safety things in mind, all the gloves and the masks and things like that, and then of course the air is filtered. Tony Fernandez says there's been no case of anyone getting infected on a plane because of the filtration.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that's true.
Yeah, yeah. We,
um,
we we would all want that to be true, so we can
well,
fly without having the concerns or this worry about whether I will get
yeah, but it's I think it's very difficult. It's very difficult thing. I think the main thing is that to make sure that no one who is actually infected gets on a flight. But even then, with asymptomatic people, that's difficult. So it's up to us then. We can't stop taking the wearing a mask. We can't stop, making sure we're washing our hands and things like that. A lot of it is up to us really, how alert we are to safety issues and what precautions we ourselves take, instead of just relying on other people to protect us all the time.
Hmm. But I actually also come across something from one of your articles, but that is setting aside whatever travel restrictions that we have right now and with this whole pandemic, which is about mobile data connection or Wi-Fi connection on planes. I think
Yeah.
I remember
What
you wrote
what
about.
about it? Yeah, I'm not particularly keen on it because me personally, I love long plane journeys simply because no one can get in touch with me. And then I feel
Same.
like, oh, I'm free, for 12 hours or whatever. I think that's great. But there's some people who just can't get away from their phones. I don't know why. So yeah, I'm very into mines, but I guess as long as it's a choice and that you don't have to, and you have to pay for it usually, and
Mhm.
you don't have to, you're not forced to be, no one expects you to be talking to them still on a 12-hour flight, and it's fine with me.
Mhm.
But to me, it's a lovely 12-hour bubble where I don't have to talk to anyone.
Yeah, I do agree with you actually. Even though like a long haul flight, which is it's not always a good thing, not always a good experience. But I believe that is the only time where we don't have Wi-Fi. We are not browsing Instagram or Facebook. That is the time we
Yeah.
can actually fully focus on our book. Actually, I get to read a lot of books like only during flights because
Yeah, I'll watch movies and eat and sleep. It's great. I've flown 18 hours Singapore to New York, and I thought it was wonderful.
how many movies have you watched on the flight?
I don't watch a lot of movies, but I like to read to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
or write
that's
sometimes.
that's great. Okay, that's a lot of sharing that you have done with us today. So, um, yeah. So, what is that one big audacious habit or goal would you want our audience to take action right now?
Habit or goal.
Mm-hmm. Something that you think our audience should just, you know, just stand up and start doing it right now without any delay.
I think it's also something I learned during the MCO is to cut consumption.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what I found was that I had too many clothes, and I could get through the whole MCO just wearing a few. So I realized that I don't really need a lot of things, and I think it's not a bad thing, because I think it's good for the environment if we don't consume too much.
Mm-hmm.
And we actually, I mean, we can look pretty decent with just a very basic set of clothes. I mean, I'm not about to throw away everything that I have,
Mm-hmm.
but I just can't see myself, really buying much more because
Mm-hmm.
I have all this, So I think the big audacious habit is to cut down on material things,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
really, because a lot of it is probably not necessary, and a lot of it is impulse buying, and it's not good for the environment. So I
Yeah.
think one of the things that has become more stark for us is the impact we humans have on the environment. And once you remove us from the equation, like during the MCO when we all
Mm-hmm.
locked down, the
Mm-hmm.
environment got better,
Mm-hmm.
and that's surely what we want to keep. Yeah, bluer skies and clean rivers and things like that. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think that's the for me that would be the big thing.
Mm. That's absolutely a great point actually because that's what I realized during this MCO actually because I was stuck in my parents' place I usually live in KL, but I'm stuck in my parents' place, so I only had those few clothes with me. But I've been like living months with
But
those.
you survive, right?
Yeah, that
Yeah,
makes
you
me
don't
think like
die, you know. Yeah.
exactly. That makes me think like I have a full wardrobe of clothes in my own place, but I don't actually need them at all. Yeah, that makes
Yeah.
me like
So
think more carefully when I spend nowadays. I'll think that I really don't need any more clothes. I don't need more bags. I don't need more shoes when we are most of the time stuck
yeah,
at home. We don't even wear shoes at home right now. Yeah, I think this is a
yeah,
time where we really realize what are the things that we need and what are the things that we want. And like you mentioned, like just
exactly.
cut out. Yeah.
And I think if we wanted to buy something, I think we should look at local businesses and small businesses, because, well, for one thing, it's probably more original and more unique, and we need to help those people rather than the very very big corporations.
Yep,
Especially
that is very
for things like clothes or accessories or whatever.
true. Yep, support local and small businesses.
Yeah,
All right. I think it almost comes to the end of our session. But before we end, this is the fun part now, where we're gonna play the random question
I thought
game.
that was it just now.
So the question is, would you rather in a salad bowl be in a
Giant
salad
langsat.
bowl with giant langsat or
Be
navel
No, would
orange?
would I rather be a giant langsat or navel orange? Giant langsat.
Why? That's
because
quick.
I because I always prefer tropical fruits
Mm,
compared
mm-hmm,
to anything else, and I love langsat,
mm-hmm.
giant or not. So yeah, definitely. Well, I suppose that would make me get eaten faster, right? Um,
Yeah, that's true.
but
Well,
yeah, a giant langsat. Anyway, I'm a tropical girl.
and also we just talk about supporting local, right? Langsat is
That's right.
definitely a local fruit.
That's right.
Yep,
That's right.
orange. It's we are not really, we cannot really like grow orange here, so they are all not
Yeah,
local. So support local and buy the giant lansat.
absolutely, absolutely.
Interesting
Oh,
question
there's
also.
more.
Yeah, so this is supposed to be my question actually. But okay,
Oh,
let me just read out for myself. What drink would you like to be named after? Is it Sky Juice Water La or Penang Road Chendol? Okay, I guess I'll pick Water La, which is so Malaysian. Because yeah, we honestly, unless we are trying to be classy, we don't go to restaurant and just simply say we want a sky juice. Most of the time we just ask for a glass of water, or if we are at mama we just ask for a glass of water lah.
but
Again,
I love sky juice. I think it's so Malaysian to think of calling water sky juice. I think it's perfect, you know?
yeah, it's a nice name definitely as compared to
Yeah. I
Chendo.
don't think anyone else says that. Only us. Yeah.
Right. So is that gonna be your answer as well, sky juice, if you were to pick one?
Yeah. Well, it's supposed to be named after me. What do I want named after me? Water is so common, though.
That's true.
So,
Chendo.
well, I wouldn't mind if someone wanted to name Chendol after me. But why it has to be Penang Road Chendol, I don't know. But this is random. This is so
Yeah, yeah,
random.
yeah. Exactly. They are meant to be super random. So it's up to
Yeah.
our creativity to, even elaborate the questions. So thank you for your time with us today. Thank you
You're
to be a
welcome.
right.
All
So yeah,
right.
before
Thank
we end,
you.
is there anything else that you would like to share with us? Anything at all?
Well, like I said, now's the time to grab all these opportunities for cheap travels
Mm-hmm.
domestically. So do it and see our country and help our economy, at least in the travel industry, recover.
Mm. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you everyone for watching. I hope you have enjoyed learning from Marina. I definitely have learned a lot from her. But if I were to summarize something that out of our conversation, I really like that she mentioned about really think about our consumption, cut down on our consumption. I think like it's not just us and not just Marina. We have all learned that during this pandemic, we have learned that we don't need so many things actually. Those are all wants. So we should cut down on those consumption that we don't need. And if you have to spend and if you have to consume, make sure you support local. All right. Thank you. So as usual, you can find the show notes and links on our website, mypf.my/podcat. And I'll see you next week. Don't forget to subscribe. Hasta pronto.